What's up, everybody? It's Yabard Bettis, and today we're going to be talking about an interesting deck. I have an old friend of mine who is getting back into Magic, and he asked me to help him build a commander deck, which is always super exciting for me because I the for me, like, I love playing Magic. I do love playing Magic a little bit more than deck building, but I really love building decks. So what he wanted it to be built out of, hi Sam, aka Mango. He wanted it to be built out of. Sorry, I gotta find them. I swear I put them in. They are in here. Okay, this is one of. It was 3 cards. This is one of them. Martial Coup. 2 white and X. Put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. There's also here Nomads Assembly. Put a 1/1 white core soldier creature token on the battlefield for each creature you control with rebound, so it will happen again the next turn. And then deploy to the front. Sorcery for 7. Put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens on the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. So it's token theme. It's soldier token theme in particular, and it costs a lot of mana. So normally for me, I tune my decks down a little bit. I aim them for like turn 7. I decided that I wanted to, like, no holds barred, not competitive EDH, but a very, very strong deck for this one. So it is tuned more for, like, it can go crazy. I want to say it's typically, like, is in a place. We'll see. I want to say it's like turn 5, turn 6, more consistently turn 6 than 5. Turn 4, it can already be pretty nasty. So it's a very, very, very cool deck. So let's just jump over to here. I want to make sure I'm recording. Okay, good. To kind of the idea around the deck. So actually, you know what? Let's just do it from here. So this is the commander, and I've always wanted to build a Kinrith the Returned King deck, but I never quite knew how I wanted to build a Kinrith deck, and I've actually taken a lot of stabs at this. And it hasn't been very successful, but this one seems like I may have finally gotten there. So Kinrith the Return King, he's actually a 5-color commander. So you can put him at the helm of really any deck that you want. Actually, maybe it is better to do it from this. Yeah, I think I'll. So I'm going to talk about each card, and then you can always jump ahead to, like, the gold fishing where I'm playing the deck, to see how it goes. But we'll go card by card, and I like this analogy here because like this version of showing the deck, because it's color coded. So this is the commander. This is what the deck wants to do. This is like your control package. This is your ramp, and this is your draw cards, and these are your for fun cards, and then 38 lands. And right now, like, I haven't perfected the mana base yet, but I'm thinking, like, I want it to be fast. I don't really want any lands to come in tapped. So it's gonna be like a Selesnya fetch land package. So it's gonna have um, like the dual lands for green and white. It's gonna have the like go and get green or white lands, and then it's gonna be forests and plains. Is pretty much what the deck's gonna be. And the idea around this deck is for so token creation's number one, right? And then on Kinrith himself, he has target player draws a card for 2. Okay. So when your commander has draw built in, we can go a little less on like a little less heavy on draw card because it's stapled onto our commander, and which means that we can go heavier on ramp. So this deck gets out the gate a lot faster. Now, so again, the focus of this deck is on token generation, right? So let me cruise down, right? So we have all of the like really awesome token doublers. So Adrix and Nev, twin casters. So I will say this, like this deck is primarily it is green and white. Almost I'd say like 90% of the deck is green and white. It has a little bit of blue and a little bit of red. Just a little bit, just like sprinkled in like a couple of cards of each. Adrix and Nev is one of them. It's an extremely powerful I think it's the most powerful token generator in the game because so like if you look at Parallel Lives, it says if an effect would put one or more tokens on the battlefield under control, you could put twice that many. So let's say I had Parallel Lives out and I played a card that made 1 token. Now I get 2 tokens, right? And then if I put a second Parallel Lives out, instead of 2 tokens, I get 4 tokens, right? So, but the way that Adrix and Nev works is if I had 2 Adrix and Nevs out, I would get, it would double the double. So it's like when you do double damage, it becomes quadra damage, and then it becomes times 8, and then times 16. Whereas Parallel Lives is just like, it's always just like times 2, right? So that's the difference. So, and there's not a ton of ways to double Adrix and Nev, but they're in there just in case we get to do a super janky game. We also have Second Harvest. For each token you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. So this is going to double any token that we already have. Of course, we have Parallel Lives. We have Anointed Procession, which is the white version of Parallel Lives. We have Mondrak Glory Dominus. And I'm gonna be sipping coffee here and there. So this is essentially like it's kind of like a Parallel Lives, but it's only for yeah. Oh yeah. But what's nice about this one is you can make it indestructible, and it's a permanent counter. So once you do the sacrifice 2 other artifacts or creatures, in this case it's almost definitely going to be creatures, put an indestructible counter on Mondrak Glory Dominus. And then we have Ogier Tak Deepest Foundation. And this one, actually, I'm going to bring this up over here. Ogier Tak Deepest Foundation. So this is a legendary creature god 6/6 with vigilance. If one or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. If this dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. And the other version is the Temple of Civilization. Look at Jack. Jack. Where is he? He's right there. Jack, come. Get down. Sorry, he's not allowed on the couch. Get down. You are not allowed on the couch. Jack. Why is he not allowed on the couch? He has that little couch piece that he can be comfy on. He's just not allowed on that couch. Jack? No. So if this dies, it turns into this land, and then it says you can pay 3, tap it, and you can transform it back into Ogier Tech. Only if you attack with 3 or more creatures, which is not generally going to be hard. So once he's out, he's going to be really hard to get rid of. Mondrak is also going to be really hard to get rid of. I put in Defense of the Heart just because it's dirty. In this deck, I will say though, like it's not gonna win the game. There's honestly not a ton of options. It's hard to explain. But to be perfectly candid, I think probably the best option would be like a Patrol Signaler and Nyxbloom Ancient. I think that might go. So that, I mean, I guess I'm kind of lying. I think that could go infinite. So the deck can go infinite. It has like 1, but it's not a 2-card combo. It's like a 3 or 4-card combo. But it can happen fast. It really can. It's a really, really powerful deck. It really is a strong deck. A lot stronger than the decks that I normally build, but I wanted to create something really, really strong for my friend returning to the game so he can have a really good time just destroying people. Or people picking on him to keep him slowed down. Jack, get down. So we got Defense of the Heart. If you don't know it, it says during your upkeep, if one of your opponents controls 3 or more creatures, you can sacrifice this. You can search your library for 2 creature cards and put them onto the battlefield. Very, very, very strong. Coat of Arms. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type. In this case, it's going to be Soldier. We have Malicious Pride. Whenever a non-token creature you control attacks, you can pay. So for every non-token creature that's attacking, you can pay 1 white mana, and you'll create a Soldier token. But remember, Adrian, I need you to keep it down. Jack, get down, or I'm going to put you outside if you can't listen. So the idea is like you want to create most of the token creation in this deck is not like an enormous amount. It's just like 1 per turn. It's just like a consistent, like think like Bitter Blossom, or it's just like kind of happens every turn. That's what this deck wants to do. It just wants to make at least 1 soldier per turn, and if it's doing that, it's probably going to make a ton. But we'll get into that. This guy is the most powerful in the deck. When I saw him, I was like, that's disgusting. So and the reason is because he is an untap. So it's 1 and a white to untap to put a Kithkin Soldier creature token into play. And this card, it might not look it. It looks very unassuming, just like, oh, look, he's so cute. This is the most powerful card in the deck, by far. Which is always very, very strong and scary when the card is, only costs 2 mana. You have the Mara, Soul of the Accord. Whenever a Mara, Soul of the Accord becomes tapped, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Finale of Glory. So this is like another big mana sink item. Jack, get down. Down. Can you throw that for him? He just wants you to throw that. So you can do, as long as X is not 10 or more, then you will get soldiers, which is honestly what you want. Like this card, I would almost say like don't go over 10, because you don't really want the white angel creature tokens with flying, but you might. You got to remember, and this is what makes this deck so strong, is Kinrith. He can give all creatures trample and haste until end of turn. So that ability, it's like static. So when you use 1 red mana with him in play, everything gets trample and haste. So all of your creatures can essentially have haste as soon as they come in. So you could, if you did make a bunch of 4/4 angels that are flying, like to fly over people, and they have vigilance, so you're going to attack. So they're going to be flying, vigilance, haste, 4/4s. So if you did make like, in this case, it would be like 10 minimum, and that's if you don't have doublers out, right? So if you did make 10, you're probably getting 20, or if you have Ojer out, you're getting 30, or if you have a Adrix and Nev, and an Anointed Procession, right? Then instead of getting 20, you get 40. If you had a copy of Adrix and Nev, you would get 20 and then 40 and then 80. And then if you had another copy, it'd be 160. So that's why Adrix and Nev is so much stronger. It doubles, right? Times 2, times 4, times 8, times 16. This is Horn of Valhalla. This one's dope. This is very similar to Finale of Glory. It says, so if you look at the card itself, it has a sorcery adventure. So the way these adventure cards work is like you can do the adventure first, and then this card goes into exile, and then you can play it from exile and play the actual card. So the adventure that you would play first is a sorcery, 2 white and X, create X 1/1 white soldier tokens. Then it goes into exile. Then you can cast it from exile, being the Horn of Valhalla. Equipped creature, so it's an equipment for 2. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control, which could be, Googleplex. It could be a ton. I did fit Elspeth, Sun's Champion, in here. It's a amazing. It's an amazing creation of soldiers every single turn, but it can also, in a pinch, be used to destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. A lot of the time, your creatures are not going to be bigger than 1/1s until you want them to be bigger than 1/1s. This is another generator for making soldiers every single turn. So the way that Benelish, I actually ran this guy back in, oh my god, in my 20s, when I was like 23 or 24, I made a soldier deck. And I had this guy in there. So Benelish Commander's power and toughness are each equal to the number of soldiers you control. But you can suspend him. So you can do 2 and then let's say like X is like 3 or 4. For the next 4 turns at your upkeep, you create, I think it's at your upkeep. Yeah. So time counters, it's suspended, and then a time counter is removed. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. A time counter is removed from the suspense at upkeep. And when a time counter is removed, you make a 1/1 white soldier. So he is a way to create a 1/1 white soldier each turn. But you don't have to suspend him either, or you could suspend him for 1 turn, because X can't be 0. So you could do 2 mana, and then next turn he comes in. 3 mana. So he creates a soldier, then he comes into play. Power and toughness equal to the soldiers that you have, or you could just straight up play him for 4. Again, if you just wanted a really big, powerful creature immediately, he would have haste from Kinrith, right? So he's actually very, very versatile in this deck. Veteran Soldier, it says command. This one I'm on the fence. This might get cut. I'm going to be goldfishing. But I do think this is one that I might cut. I'm not sure yet. But it says commander creatures you own have. Whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, for each opponent, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. So it's kind of like Myriad or Myriad. But the creatures aren't sacrificed at the end of turn. These ones would stay. So if my commander attacks, the opponent with the most life, I would create a 1/1 creature. I would create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, tap and attacking all of my opponents. So I would create at a minimum 3 1/1 white soldiers, right? But again, if we have a doubler out, then we create 6 or 9 or 16 or whatever. So it definitely has a lot of potential, but I don't know. I don't know how good it's going to be. The other thing just to mention is like most decks don't have a great way of dealing with enchantments. So enchantments typically are pretty safe versus like creatures or artifacts. Creatures and artifacts are much more um, like fragile, if you will. Call the Copper Coats. It says this spell costs 2 more to cast for each target beyond the first. The targets are opponents. So if I just cast this at one opponent, it would be 3 mana. And then I would create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures that opponent controls. So if I paid 3, targeted one opponent, I would get soldiers equal to the amount of creatures that he controls. But if I paid 5, now I can make an amount of tokens equal to that opponent and equal to the amount that that opponent has, and then again equal to the amount of creatures that this other opponent controls. So it's exponential, right? So you could target all 3 of your opponents. Some opponents might not be juicy to choose because they don't have a lot of creatures, but I think this is very, very powerful. And the other thing that's really cool about this is if I can bring your attention to the fact that it has instant. So this is something that you can do as like a combat trick, like someone swings into you and you're like, okay, by the way, boom, I have a million creatures. And think about it, right? So let's say they attack you with like, let's say they're a token deck just for fun. So they have like 18 tokens and they attack you. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm also gonna get 18 tokens, but I have parallel lives, so I'm actually going to get 36 tokens. So I will have 18 tokens to block all of your attackers, but then I'm also going to have an additional 18 tokens. So they're like you're getting huge while you're also being defensive. There is a lot of like protect.
Hey, Papa.
Yeah, baby.
I'm hungry.
Okay, I'll make breakfast soon. Okay. Um, So here is King Darien. I'm still not sure how much I love this guy, but he says other creatures you control get +1/+1. Sacrifice him. Creature tokens you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So he protects tokens. You can also pay 5 mana to put a 1/1 counter on him and create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. What's cool about stuff like this? So let me look back real quick. So we have this. So I want you to remember like the ability. So this one says 1 and 2 white Phyrexian, and this one says 1 and a white. Let's see. This one says 3 a green and a white, and then Kindred has like colorless and a green, 2 colorless and a white, 3 colorless and a blue, right? This deck has, as it should, and I took like a draw card spot for this card. Where are you? There it is, Training Grounds. So it's 1 blue mana. Enchantment. It says activated abilities of creatures you control cost up to 2 colorless less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount to 0. So essentially, like this could only cost 2, and then this could only cost 1 white, and this could only cost 3. So you could be creating a white soldier creature token and getting a +1/+1 counter for 3 mana, and that's if we don't find a way to copy Training Grounds, which I want to say we have a way. I think we did have a way, but I might have taken it out of the deck for the Nyxbloom Ancient, which I think is understandable. Like, it was between Nyxbloom Ancient and a Mirage Mirror, which it's still tempting. I don't know. It's still tempting. I think what I want to do too is, like, I was gonna put. I think that answers my question, because I was thinking about. It'll come up when I find it. But there was a card in here that I was like, this will be useless again. Oh, yeah, I know what it is. So maybe instead of Carpet of Flowers, I would put Mirage Mirror inside of that same sleeve. And then if I'm playing, when my opponents are like, hey, I'm playing this, I'm playing that, and I see that nobody is playing blue, I would just put the Mirage Mirror over the Carpet of Flowers in that case, and then just have a Mirage Mirror instead of the Carpet of Flowers. I think that's what I would do. Like, as a, like, before the game starts, so I'm not cheating. Smothering Tithe. If you don't know Smothering Tithe, you live in a hole. It is a game changer card, but that's okay. I'm not terribly worried about like game changers personally. But this one says whenever an opponent draws a card, they have to pay 2 mana. If they don't, you create a treasure token. So here's what's cool about this. If you haven't been playing Magic, like if you haven't been paying attention, this creates. Look at what it says. It says if the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact. Say it with me. Token. So what happens when we create tokens, you guys? We double them. So if I had Adrix and Nev out, and I had Smothering Tithe out, every time an opponent draws and doesn't pay 2 mana, I would get 2 treasure tokens. Right? So let's say that happens 3 times in a round of the table, which is totally possible, right? People don't want to pay 2 mana for drawing a card, and people really love drawing cards in Commander, do they not? So I think I'm underselling it by saying that you could have 3 instances where people don't pay, which would give us 6 treasures, right? Well, then let's say it comes back to our turn, and then we hit a second harvest. It says for each token you control, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. So now it's saying, hey, you have 6 treasure tokens. Have another 6 treasure tokens. But Adrix and Nev are in play, so have 12 treasure tokens. So now you're saying, like, okay, we do get big mana in this deck. So all of our doubling token stuff, which we have pretty much every single one in Magic, like all the ones that we want in these colors, are in this deck. On top of that, we run 2 search for an enchantment things. We have where is it? We have Enlightened Tutor, and then we also have another. I think I put it in. If I didn't, I will. Here it is, Sterling Grove. So Sterling Grove is an enchantment for green and white. It says all other enchantments you control have Shroud. You can pay 1 mana, sacrifice it, search your library for an enchantment card, and then put it on top of your library. So we have ways to go and search for. So Adrix and Nev can get grabbed by Defense of the Heart, right? And then also, let's see, Mondrak, Glory, Dominus can get grabbed by Defense of the Heart. Ogier, Tack, Deepest Foundation can get grabbed by Defense of the Heart. Anointed Procession, Parallel Lives, is that all of them? Those can get grabbed by our search for an enchantment, put it on top of your library, of which we have two. So we have ways to like go and get these things, and it's not broken, right? We're not breaking like a casual game. Trust me, playing at my LGS, like I this is why I don't feel bad about making a deck like this, because the people I've been playing against, they play some really fast, powerful decks, and I'm constantly am feeling like I need to speed up my other decks, but I probably won't. I like them at the speed they are. So we see now like there is a treasure theme in this deck as well, because of the doubling tokens. Let me see if I can just like quickly just. So we got Bootlegger Stash. Lands you control have created treasure tokens. So then if I have 1 or 2 or 3 token doublers, then my lands become ×2, ×3, ×4. You know what I mean? Every time that I tap a land, I create 2 treasure tokens, or 3 treasure tokens, or 16 treasure tokens, depending, you know, what's going on my field. So that's a great way to make a ton of mana. We also have Spell Swindle. This card is so good, you guys. This card, every single time that I've drawn it in a game, it has been amazing. So here's what you do. As soon as you can afford to play this card. So let's say like if it's turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, whatever. Like keep up 5 mana. Keep up mana to play this and pass the turn. Because like it feels weird when you have like 5 mana and then you pass the turn and people are like you didn't do anything on that turn, but then you wait for a rotation of the table. And generally for me, I would say like blue.
How about red?
Okay, red. If a card comes down that is 4 casting costs or more, counter it. Doesn't matter what it is. Like it, I had a game where the dude did like it was like a 7 mana draw spell, but it was kind of like a cruise ship type thing where it was like a treasure cruise type thing where it's like, you know, remove cards from your graveyard, however many cards you remove, you know. So he was trying to draw like 3 cards for like 1 mana, but the CMC on that was actually 7. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, but I have to use this on that. And it's not to screw you, it's just to help me. So I got 7 treasures off of that. Because it says, counter target spell, create X colorless treasure artifact tokens, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And then they're treasures, right? Again, we can make double. We can double up on them, right? So then when it comes, so think of it this way. It has the potential. So you're going to counter something. You're slowing down your opponent of something powerful. Your next turn is going to be twice, if not 3 or 4 times as good, depending on how many tokens you're going to get out of this. It's so good. Play it like that. Think of it as a huge ramp spell. Just pass your turn. What's the other? I also have Prosperous Partnership. When Prosperous Partnership enters the battlefield, create 2 green and white citizen creature tokens. This is not in there. Even if this didn't have the create tokens thing, we would play it. So it says tap 3 untapped creatures you control, create a treasure token. We're seeing the theme, right? Like if I play this, I'm probably going to get more than 2 tokens, right? I might get 4. I might get 8. And then I can tap 3 untapped creatures. You don't need haste, and you create a treasure token. But in our case, we're going to create multiple treasure tokens. I also put in Curse of Opulence. I've been wanting to put this into a deck forever, and I just couldn't find the right deck. This is the deck. Enchant player. For 1 red mana, whenever enchanted player is attacked, we create a gold token, which is like a treasure.
I got it upside down blue.
Oh no.
Oh
Oh my gosh. And then each opponent that attacks that player does the same thing. So now we've incentivized our opponents to attack the player that we enchanted with Curse of Opulence. And whenever they attack him, we get a treasure. So when we attack him, we get a treasure. When someone else attacks him, we also get a treasure. But in our case, we're going to get multiple treasures, right? And then Tireless Provisioner. Whenever a land comes into the battlefield under our control, we get a treasure. So we play land, we get 2, 3, 4 treasures. And we are playing fetch lands. So we're going to play multiple lands in a turn. So we potentially will get multiple, like, it's a lot of treasure. We'll get a lot of treasure. And on top of that, we also are running.
Mama, I fixed it, but this one still doesn't turn on.
Yeah, I think it might be broken up there then. Bummer. It happens. Those things are cheap. Uh-oh. Oh no.
What?
I told you they're cheap. So we're also playing Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So this says you may play an additional land on each of your turns, and then lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Oh, that's cool. Just don't whip anybody with it, okay? Can you bring it over here? I'm gonna show it in the video. It's really cool.
Yeah.
We went to the water circus and he got like this thing, but now it was very different. It was like a staff with a bubble on top that had the lights. Here, hand me that. So it did have like this, and then it had all the lights all around the bubble, but he broke it. But now he has like a whip. Do not hit anybody with that, okay? So Dryad of the Elysian Grove, we potentially could play like max potential would be like Dryad of the Elysian Grove, 2 Tireless Provisioner in play with an anointed procession, and this is totally realistic. Like this could totally happen. And then we play like 2 fetch lands, so we get 4 lands that come into play in one turn, and then we get a treasure per land. But if we have anointed procession, we get 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8 treasures. It's nutty. I do want to point out one thing. Sorry, I don't talk this much all at once. I talk a lot, but normally not all at once like this. So Curse of Opulence, the only downside of this is what it gives you is a gold instead of a treasure, and there is a large difference between that. Because the gold doesn't tap when you sacrifice it to add the mana, you just sacrifice it and you add the mana, and the reason that's relevant, just something to keep Adrian. The reason that you have to keep that in mind is because of Nyxbloom Ancient. If you have Nyxbloom Ancient out, he says if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. So he will triple treasures. He like you tap and sack a treasure for 1 mana of any color, you'll get 3 mana of that color with a treasure, but you won't get that with a gold. So that's the only downside. It's not a huge downside for for 1 mana, and you're going to get so much value out of this. You're going to get so much value out of this. The other thing to keep in mind, so we talked about Tireless Provisioner. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get treasures. Well, let me also show you this guy, Awaken the Woods. It's 2 green and X. We already know we get big mana in this deck. It says create X 1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. So even if X was 2, we would get 4. We would ramp 4 lands, and potentially we're getting landfall triggers. Potentially, like it's not guaranteed, but like if this dude's in play, we're also going to get 4 landfall triggers, 4 treasures, 8 treasures, 8. Like it's so crazy, you guys. This deck is nutty. It is nutty buddies. We have Esper Sentinel in here. It's a soldier. it's it's a draw card. It's perfect. We have Kindred Discovery. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose breach type. Spoiler, it's going to be Soldier. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. So if I have 3 soldiers enter the battlefield, I draw 3 cards. And then if I have Kinrith with 1 mana, I can give them all haste. They all attack, and then I draw 3 more. So this card can, like, you can basically like draw your whole deck depending on what you have in play. Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature you control. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with power toughness 4 or greater. So potentially, if I had like a coat of arms in play, I could gain a ton of life also. But it's really just in here for draw a card for each creature you control. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able, so we can force our opponents to do things they don't want to do. And also it can be a huge draw engine for us. And this, I was playtesting and I wasn't thinking much of it, but this card is crazy. And again, Adrian, I need you to chill. And in the playtest, sorry, I'm gonna take a drink. In the playtest, I had that happens. In the playtest, I had training grounds in play. So you remember, activated abilities of creatures is 2 less to activate. So with Black Panther Wakandan King, that makes his activated ability 1 instead of 3. Basically, what he says is whenever him or another creature enters a battlefield that I control, I put a +1/+1 counter on a target land. So I can load up a land with a ton of +1/+1 counters, and then I can pay 1 mana at any time. So this can be a combat trick. So you can do this like in combat, and then people like forget. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna block your 1/1." You're like, "All right, great. I'm gonna pay 1 mana." It's now a 10/10, or however many counters you get. And then when you do that move, you and let me see this. So whenever black or another creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target land. So if you had like, oh my gosh, you guys, if you had 10 creatures enter, which is a thing in this deck, right? You have 10 creatures enter. It's per instance of creature entering that you're getting a trigger of this. You're getting 10 triggers of this. So you could spread out those +1/+1s onto several lands. Or you can put a bunch on 1 land and then pay, if we have training grounds, we can pay 1 mana, move those +1/+1 counters, however many there are. We move all of those +1/+1 counters, whether it's 1 or several, onto 1 creature instantly. And then when we do, we gain that much life. So if it's 3 +1/+1 counters, we gain 3 life. If it's 1 +1/+1 counter, we gain 1 life, and then we draw a card. So potentially we can draw. So if we spread it out, if we're like, man, we really need draw cards. If we spread it out, and we're like, all right, I'll do 3 here, 3 here, 4 here, and then we can combat trick for that 4 onto something and draw a card, gain 4 life, and then we could draw more cards. Is what I'm trying to say. Like you could draw more cards. Super scary because if I did play like. And this deck can do this, right? It can go infinite. So you can do like 100 +1/+1 counters all on 1 land. And then we attack. And then someone's like, okay, I block this, I block this, I block this. I don't block this 1/1. You're like, okay, great. I put 100 +1/+1 counters on that 1/1. You're dead. Like, terrifying stuff. We have Braingeyser. I think this is funny because it's an X cost. We're going to have a ton of mana. So what's nice about this is you can cast this on yourself to draw cards. Drawing cards is always super strong, but you can also kill somebody with this. So if you had enough mana, which you'll get a ton of mana in this deck, you can actually target somebody else and just kill them with Braingeyser. Like, draw 95 cards. All right, you're dead. We have the Reality Chip. This card is dope. You may look at the top card of your list. So you pay 2 mana, you get the Reality Chip. It is a creature. It's a legendary artifact creature that is also an equipment, and it's a jellyfish. This card is so sick, dude. So sick. You look at the top card of your library 8 times. Whoop-de-doo. But when you reconfigure this, so you pay 3 mana, or possibly 1 mana, because it's a creature if you have Training Grounds, you equip this onto one of your creatures. Now, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library, and you don't have to reveal it. You can look at the top card. You don't have to play with the top card revealed. You can just be like, okay, cool, I can play lands, I can cast cards, and you can just go and go and go and go. And if you have something like Dryad of the Elysian Grove, maybe I've skipped so much stuff. This deck, you guys, it's so crazy. I'm going to cover every card. We're going to cover every single card. And then, so like I said, you can always skip ahead. So let me go back down to here. So this deck runs multiple versions of this. This says creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. And then for this one in particular, if this dies, it comes back as an enchantment. So it's really hard to get rid of. You have this version of that. You have Cryptolith Rite. Creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Elven Chorus. This is kind of like a Cryptolith Rite mixed with the reality chip, kind of. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library, only creature spells. And then creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. We have Skull Clamp. Like I said, 90% of the time your creatures are 1/1s, so you can just pay 1 mana, equip this, it dies, you draw 2 cards. You really only buff your creatures and make them really huge when you want them to die. Or sorry, when you want to finish the game. I think the only thing that's going to potentially get in the way of that is the King Darien thing, but you can always sacrifice him to get him off the table. Like if like you really need to draw cards, you'd be like, all right, I'll just sacrifice King Darien. All of my stuff is indestructible. Equip my 1/1. Negative counters can't be stopped by indestructible, so it'll still die. We have March of the Multitudes. In testing, this card is bonkers. So it's 2 white and a green and X with Convoke. So it says create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink, which is a big difference. And then you can tap creatures. Every creature that you tap adds 1 mana to make this bigger. So even if you didn't have a Cryptolith Rite or an Elven Chorus, an Enduring Vitality, or something like that in play, you could still tap down however many creatures, any creature, doesn't matter, to make the X bigger, which you probably would do 99 out of 100 times. You would do this. So, I mean, when I did it last night, I was like X was equal to 4 for the mana that I had. But then with the creatures that I also tapped, it ended up being like 9, which ended up being 18. So I got 18 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink off of this spell. And again, if you'll notice, this is an instant. So not only can we make a ton of creatures at instant speed as a combat trick, but they're also going to have lifelink. Very good. All right, so here we go. Helm of the Host. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the creature isn't legendary and it gains haste. So, yeah. We could put this on, like, for example, we could put this on like an Amara, Soul of the Accord. And then when we go to combat, let's say we have like, or even better, actually would be an Adrix and Nev. Oh my god, that would be insane. Because you think about it. If you had an Adrix and Nev in play, and I'm just going to show you guys this. This is crazy. So let's jump into a game, just real quick, just so I can show this. I didn't mean for that to say that game title. So I was playing. Me and my brother were messing around. That sounds worse. Okay, so Adrix and Nev. All right, so we'll play that, and then let's play a Helm of the Host. Play. So Helm of the Host. Let's just say we just have these in play. We go to combat. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you'll create another Adrix and Nev. But because you have Adrix and Nev in play, you'll create 2 of these. Okay? Now, let me show you what happens next turn. Or if you just created like I'm going to show you what happens next turn if this goes off again. But if you were to create one token right now, let's get 1 soldier token. Let's say you have something, which in this deck we definitely have a ton of, where you create 1 soldier token. You would get 2 of those because of this Adrix and Nev. So now we get 2. But because of this additional one, it's going to times that by 2. So you're actually going to get 4. And now this one is going to times that by 2, which is going to be 12. So we got 12 plus 4 plus 2. 12 plus 4, 16, 18. So we got... So think about it. And then next turn, when this goes to combat, we create an Adrix and Nev. But because of our Adrix and Nev, we create 2. And then 4. So we would create... We would create like 18 again, right? So we create 1, and then we create 18, and then if we had another soldier, it would be like you'd have to break out your calculator. It would be maybe hundreds or thousands. I don't know. It would be disgusting. It would be in the it would be a lot. Let's do the math. So we would then create 18. So we'll just do this. We're gonna go. So we have 2. So 18, 19, or 19, 20, 21. So we would have 21 Adrix and Nevs. 21 Adrix and Nevs. This is why Adrix and Nev is crazy bonkers. So we have 21 of these. So then we create, let's say we create 1 soldier token. Create 1 soldier. And then we actually get 2. And then we do this 21 times. All right, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 20 times. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we make 2,097,152 tokens if we were just creating one token. Just 1. We would get that many. And that's at the beginning of combat. So we have not attacked. So we get 2 million, and then if we have Kindred and we have the ability to make 1 red mana, we get everything gets trample and haste. And probably like we have like a Cryptolith Rite where creatures can tap for mana. Right? So you don't even have to attack with all of these tokens. You could just attack like 5 at you, 5 at you, 5 at you. And then they're like, okay, I'll block this, I'll block this, I'll block this. Like, okay, with my other 2,096,000 whatever, I have that much mana, and I can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So I'm gonna put, and you never want to overdo this, just in case people have some kind of combat trick, like a deflecting palm or something. Well, even then, it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, it does. So you could be like, all right, I'm going to give 40 +1/+1 counters to this creature that's unblocked, that creature that's unblocked, that creature that's... So that's a 40/40, that's a 40/40, that's a 40/40. And then someone's like, okay, in response, like deflecting palm or whatever. And you're like, okay, in response to that, I'll tap and I'll target player gains 5 life, and I'll do that to myself, and I'll gain like you could probably, it's times 3, so 2 million. So we would get our calculator. Where'd our calculator go? Did I get rid of it? I know I'm being extra right now, but let's just say 2, 9, 7, 1, 2, 3. So we could divide this by 3, and then times it by 5, and that's how much life we could gain in response. So nutty. This deck is crazy. Super strong, man. So we're not even done. We're not even done, you guys. We are not even done. And I'm trying to go fast because I want to make my kid some breakfast. We have Aura Shards. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, destroy. You may, keyword may, you do not have to do this. This is important. You may destroy a target artifact or enchantment. So you can kill everybody else's stuff and not have to kill any of your stuff. We have Lauren of the third path. When she enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. You and target opponent each draw a card. It's just a draw card. This could be changed. I don't know how I feel about it. Eldrazi Monument. Creatures you control get +1/+1, flying and indestructible. Sacrifice a creature. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. So we can make all of our creatures +1/+1, have flying and be indestructible. Cauldron of Souls. So this is like protects what we're doing. Cauldron of Souls. Choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures get persist. So when they die, they return to play with a -1/-1 counter. You know, now that I'm looking at that, we would need to have at least +1/+1. Which we can. I don't know. This might get cut. We'll have to see. Eternal Witness. Amazing, especially with Sun Titan. So we can go and we can do like our instants or sorceries, or like we can get stuff back. So Eternal Witness can get anything back. Sun Titan can get anything 3 permanent, not anything. So not instants or sorceries. And then we have Maze of Ith. This is really good for like if we. Okay, thank you. So we can use this defensively, but we can also use this like if we didn't have our things to tap these for mana. Maybe I tap to attack somebody with Amara Soul of the Accord, and then I can Maze of Ith her to remove her from combat. So she doesn't die, to say if they had like a 3/3 or something that they could block, I'd be like, no, then she's going to untap herself, but I will get to create the white soldier creature token with lifelink. So we do get that. I think this I'm probably going to take out. Scout the Wilderness, as I was playtesting, it was pretty bad, so I'm probably going to take that out. Okay, now we get into some funner stuff. We have Goblin Bombardment. Sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So now we have non-creature damage ways to kill people, and it's not just people. We can destroy any target, planeswalkers. So just so you okay. So let me clarify in case people get confused. It says sacrifice a creature. This deals 1 damage to target creature or player, but very recently they errated all of these type cards to say any target. So when we look at the errata for this, it's actually deals 1 damage to any target, so it can kill planeswalkers. So it does kill planeswalkers. The same thing happened to Warstorm Surge. It says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature, or well, to any target. So this was errated as well. I can prove that now. Just Warstorm Surge. Adrian, please. This also says any target. Any target. So that was errated as well. So I'm not a big fan of God of Perforos, and God of Perforos people feel much more in danger to that, because it does 3 to all opponents, and they're just like, oh gosh, who makes up? I know, baby. I'm gonna make you food. So super good. Deals with a lot of things. Oh, we got Birds of Paradise, Selvala. Each player reveals the top card of his or her library. For each non-land, you get a 4, so it could be 3. Well, it could be 4 because it's each player. It's not just your opponents; it's also you. So you could get 4 mana, and then you gain 1 life. So it could be 4 life, and then each player draws a card. So including you, then you also draw a card. So I don't know. It may stay, may go. And then Phyrexian Altar. Sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color. There's a lot of ways that this is useful. Obviously, we can go infinite with this. We can just this is bonkers. And then like we have like the ability to sacrifice things, which can be really good. Because if I wanted to sacrifice Eternal Witness to bring her back over and over, so if you didn't notice, Kindred on the bottom says put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. So if we can recycle things like Eternal Witness over and over and over and over and over, we can go and get our big sorceries and continue to do those or those instants or whatever over and over and over and over and over. Very, very, very cool. Let's see. What else did I skip? I think is that pretty much to play the front command tab. So I am still like the lands is still like a work in progress, but I will say this: the lands will be like untapped stuff. All right, I'm going to do a part 2 on this so I can feed this boy. It's early, like he's not starving, you guys. He's totally fine. But I'll do a part 2 of the actual gameplay, and so I can feed this kid real quick. Let me know what you think about the deck. You'll get a better idea of this once I'm actually playing it, and then you'll see what we're talking about. Crazy, crazy, crazy deck. All right, I'll see you soon. Cheers.